Our next speaker's name is Anamika. She is a specialist of air policy and strategy at Cenovus. She is going to talk to us today about how to navigate a satisfying career and how to establish a work-life balance that really works. As a specialist of air strategy and policy, Anamika is responsible for setting and advancing Cenovus Energy's strategy and direction for air pollutants, greenhouse gas emissions, and energy efficiency. Anamika also represents Cenovus at policy discussions with government, environmental NGOs, and other industry members. Anamika joined Cenovus in 2010 and is deeply passionate about bringing a balance between energy development and environmental impact, and is currently working on developing a model that looks at the life cycle net environmental impact of different project design alternatives that will allow facilitation of better project decisions. Prior to Cenovus, Anamika worked at Baker Hughes, Jacobs Engineering, and Suncor. Her business experience includes a variety of roles in process engineering design, operations engineering, technology development, and strategic planning. Anamika is a professional engineer registered with APEGA. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering and has a Master's of Business Administration, specializing in global energy management and sustainable development. In her spare time, Anamika pursues her many interests, including photography, reading, writing, travel, baking, and cooking. Please join me in welcoming Anamika to the podium.
Good morning. You guys actually responded. That's awesome. I'm off to a good start. Forbes' 100 most powerful women in the world. Fortune magazine's most successful businesswoman of the year. Top 40 under 40. I am on none of these lists. I have, however, been sort of a little bit obsessively Google stalking a number of women who are on these lists year after year. And in a good way, I'm not creepy or anything. Names you've probably heard of: Angela Merkel from Germany, Chancellor of Germany. Christine Lagarde, Managing Director of the IMF. Marissa Mayer, CEO of Yahoo. And the list just continues. These lists even have people like Beyonce on them. What I'm getting at is none of these women have anything in common when it comes to cultural background, educational background, their personal lives, their career pursuits, nothing in common. But the one thing each and every one of them has embodied is a relentless pursuit of living life fully, whatever it looks like for them. And so over 12 years of my career so far, that's what I've been trying to embody: a relentless pursuit of living life in exactly the way that you want to. So I started my career 12 years ago as a junior process engineer at Jacobs Engineering. My first month was overwhelming because I was asked to alphabetize, I don't know how to say that word very well, a group of documents. It was overwhelming because, hey, I am a chemical engineer, I am registered with APEGA as an EIT, why are you asking me to manage documents? And I was quite annoyed. And my department manager pulled me aside, brilliant man, Alan Childs, pulled me aside and said, it doesn't matter what you've been asked to do. If you just do it really well, people will notice. You don't even have to try beyond that. So there I was, grouping drawings together in certain order that made sense. And lo and behold, I got put on a project that was very cool. It was a Suncor Firebag project. And somehow I ended up designing the well pads. So if some of you are involved in SAGD design and operations, and you know what a well pad is. It was the most exciting time because I learned a lot. I was surrounded by people who mentored me, who guided me, and who gave me great advice. After 6 years, I decided I had done a lot of design engineering, and I wanted to see what it actually looks like in operations, what it looks like on the field. So I moved to Suncor. When I was at Suncor, I was hired on as a process engineer to troubleshoot operating issues. So I led a couple of projects, troubleshooting, and just as this was in the 2008-2009 period, and just as I was getting into this, the merger between Suncor and Petro-Canada was announced. I was right in the heart of my MBA program at U of C, and I needed a cool project, and so I approached our VP at the time and asked for a cool project, and he put me on the Merger Integration Planning Committee. So I was involved in everything from strategic planning around the merger to bringing out synergies in how we would run assets in the same way once two very large, very different companies came together. I also had a short stint in technology development, but I was wrapping up my MBA and ready for a new opportunity that wasn't only around engineering. I wanted more. And I didn't quite know what more looked like at the time. And so I met Judy Fairburn from Cenovus at the time. She's still with Cenovus, but at the time I didn't know who she was, but I met her at, I think, a mixer. I don't fully remember how we came to meet each other, but she said, there's an environment advisor opportunity at Cenovus, are you interested? And she and I had a lengthy chat about what I was doing in my MBA program and how I got to where I was and where I wanted to go. And I didn't fully still know where I wanted to be, but this sounded exciting. So I said yes. I interviewed for the role, and there I was at Cenovus in 2010, May 2010. And since then, I've stayed at Cenovus, evolved into what this role has become. I started out with 1 or 2 tasks around environment strategy, and then the opportunity became available to lead the file on air pollutants and greenhouse gas emissions, and I jumped at it. And then today, I lead a team of subject matter experts on these issues. Together, we represent the company at different negotiations. I represent the oil and gas industry for certain air pollutant negotiations with the governments, and it's just been a fantastic journey so far. Throughout this time, it's been the nuggets of wisdom that I've gathered from different people who've been there to support me. And there's a lot of advice out there, a lot of mixed messages, especially when it comes to women and career development. You should do this, you should do that. Become a VP, don't become a VP. Have babies, don't have babies. There's a lot out there. The key is to know what works for you and to make sure you take it on fully. You commit to what works for you. Today, I'm going to talk to you about 5 things. 5 things that are fundamental to my career success to date, 5 things that I believe will take me forward in the next 25 years of my career, whatever's remaining of it. These are 5 things that they're simple, they make sense, and they mean a lot to me. I call it the 5 things I wish I knew when I was 21. First, work very, very hard and be excellent at whatever you do. I love food, so I watch a lot of Food Network, and some of you may know Guy Fieri. He runs the show Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Nods if you know who that is. I was listening to him talk, he was doing an interview, and he was talking about how he got about to this role. He loves food. He wanted to be a chef, but his first role was washing dishes at a diner that not a lot of people came to. It wasn't doing very well. He says that whenever he would be frustrated, his father would tell him that, why don't you just go be the best darn dishwasher there ever was and stop complaining? And so he became the best darn dishwasher there ever was. Because of his work ethic, the owner of the diner noticed. And one day, the chef didn't show up and they were short on staff. So the owner said, "Guy, get over here and make some grilled cheese sandwiches." So he made the best grilled cheese sandwich he knew how, and what he says is the rest is history. That was his start into his career as a chef, and he is where he is today. When I first started out, I already told you, I was pretty frustrated with filing documents in order of alphabets. I used to be pretty frustrated as well. And for the first about 4 or 5 years of my career, I would whine a lot. Every performance review I would have, I would say, how am I not getting promoted? Why is there still a junior beside my name? I want to be a senior process engineer, and I want it now. I'm very good at what I do. And whoever my supervisor was at the time would say, just give it a bit, learn some things, make sure that you know your job really, really well, and things will happen, just be patient. And it made no sense. And I think at some point, year 4 or 5, I stopped thinking about it. I stopped focusing on why I wasn't getting promoted. Maybe I gave up, and I just did my job. And before I knew it, I got promoted. And then ever since then, I just stopped caring about titles and whether or not I was getting promoted or not. And those opportunities just showed up for me. And thinking back as I was preparing for this talk, it occurred to me that career success, career advancement, is a lot like dating. You know how people say that when you're really looking to find a partner, the desperation shows through, and the minute you stop looking, that's when the right guy shows up? This is a lot like that. But what happens, the key thing that applies to both, is that you focus on yourself. You focus on making yourself better. And you just focus on the job at hand. That focus is what makes you good. What I also find is that if you are able to outwork and outthink your competition, it plays well into making you look like a potential candidate for the next level. So work very hard as it takes, and be excellent at what you do. 2, age-old saying, know thyself. I've modified it a little bit. Know what you love. At Synovus, we have an annual career development planning session. When I first came to Synovus, it blew my mind that the company takes people's development so seriously. So during this process, you sit down with your supervisor and you come up with a 3 to 5 year plan, what it will look like, what your long-term goals are, short-term goals are, what you need in the next year to help you to get to these goals. So around the 3rd year that I was at Synovus, the first 2 years I was playing it safe because I wanted my boss to think, A, I'm not a pain in the butt asking for stuff, and B, that he actually knows that I can do a really good job. So year 3, I decided to push the boundary a little bit. And on my career development plan, I said I wanted to be VP by age 40. That was the sentence. My boss, John Mitchell, is a bit of a 2014 Yoda. He's not short or anything, he's actually quite tall, but he has a lot of wisdom, and he says simple statements that are just profound, that will just hit you as, whoa, I didn't think about this. And so here's how the conversation went. Me, I want to be VP by age 40. John, why? And in that moment, all I could think about was, if I'm VP, I'll have enough money to buy handbags and shoes that I can't afford right now. But I couldn't possibly tell him that, could I? So I just kind of sat there staring at him, and then it occurred to me, oh, I have something intelligent to say. I want to be a VP because I want to be a leader. John, why? And I said, I don't know, I want to lead with vision, and I want to take Cenovus to this modern oil sands company that's seen as this brilliant organization in the world. Well, it already is. And then he saw me squirming. I was starting to sweat. There were beads of sweat. And then my glasses were fogging up. So then he said, if you can figure out why, then we'll put that in here. But if you don't know why you want to be VP by age 40, you're only chasing a title. And then he said the most profound thing ever. Don't chase titles. Chase the reason you want that title. And within a week, I had this brilliant aha moment, hamster woke up, lights went on, that I wanted to be a VP, not because of the title, because I believe that that position puts you in a position of power and influence. I am so passionate about bringing this balance between energy development and environment. I love what I do because I am constantly fighting for bringing the two things together. I am constantly influencing governments into seeing how we do our business and influencing our assets, our engineers internally to see how we can do things differently to have lower impact on the environment. And that's when I realized, no, that's not what my VP is, not my career goal. My career goal is to solve problems. My career goal is to be a recognized industry expert at solving complicated problems that our industry faces. And then Yoda, or John, said, all right, let's write that down then. So what do you need to do to get there? And then we had a fantastic career development chat. And ever since then, that's been on top of my mind. Everything that I take on, everything that I pursue, every area of development that I take on is about this. This is how I want to be seen in the future and today. So know yourself. If you know yourself, if you know what you are passionate about, you are open to opportunities that you would never have seen otherwise. If you become really focused on having a set path to getting where you want to go, you will actually miss opportunities elsewhere. Marissa Mayer started in university wanting to be a neurosurgeon. She graduated with 14 job offers in computer science. That would not have been possible if she had just limited herself to wanting to pursue pre-med at Stanford. So know yourself. Third, be aware of the false ceiling. Oh my goodness, I'm pregnant, I will not get this promotion, I shouldn't even try for it. Oh my goodness, I sound like a mouse, I should not stand up and speak in front of a brilliant room full of engineering women. We set these ceilings ourselves. We create these ceilings ourselves, and then we limit ourselves without needing to. You can go as far as you want, for as long as you want, if you are just aware of limitations you create for yourself. One of the things women do a lot is pass up promotions. They believe that they're not ready. So if a manager position comes up, they'll say, oh, well, I'm not ready. I haven't done this before. I'm not sure how to take this on. Men don't say this a lot. Actually, I don't think they ever say that. They'll say, bring it on. It's very typical. The other thing women do is as soon as they know they're going to have a family, that their children are young, they'll stop accepting new assignments. Sheryl Sandberg, in her book, Lean In, if some of you read that book, excellent read, said when she was, I think, 9 months pregnant and there was no parking spot for pregnant women, there was only a handicap parking spot that was taken, she stormed into her VP's office and said, "How do you not have a parking spot for pregnant women? I've had to walk all the way across the parking lot with this giant belly. How do you expect me to function like this?" And they put a parking spot for pregnant women. If she'd never asked, she wouldn't have got it. And I find myself doing this. I step away, I don't ask. If you're not at the table, if you are not asking, you will never get it. So just by stepping away from the table, you are creating a major barrier for yourself. You are putting a false ceiling for yourself. So take the opportunity. Who cares if you don't know how to do it? You'll figure it out. You're smart. Now, if you think that you're not going to figure it out because you hate doing that work, that's totally different. But if you love what you do, and there is an opportunity for you to stretch your limits, take it on. If you fail, you fail. Some of the best successes come out of failures. So that's the third one. 4, define your work-life balance as what it looks like for you. Everyone successful, every woman successful, typically looks like they've got it all. That's not true 100% of the time. Actually, that's rarely true. Got it all, from your perspective, may be completely different from what having it all from their perspective might be. So you need to know what having it all means for you. I know a very cool woman who asked me not to name her because she takes some afternoons off here and there. She says that she will work till 2 in the morning if necessary to get things done. And she has 2 young kids. But on a Tuesday or a Thursday afternoon, if there's not a lot going on, she will actually leave work around 11 or 12, and she'll take her kids to the zoo or to the science center, and she makes it work that way. There's a lot of talk around 50-50 partnership between men and women, but I'll tell you this. The onus of having children is on you. Men can't have children. The burden of making sure that your child has somewhere to go when they're calling home sick or the daycare is calling sick is usually also on you. Your husbands will step in and help, but women are designed to be these resilient nurturers. Your initial reaction is to jump in and go into rescue, doesn't matter what it takes. So you have to work with that. You have to create your whole life with that. And so what I always say is that there is no such thing as a work-life balance. It is a work-life integration, and that's what life is. You integrate all the pieces of your life. Work is a part of your life. You spend 50% or more of your time in the office. So you take all of these pieces of your life that are important to you, and you make them fit. That's what work-life integration looks like. That's what I like to call it. And that way, you have time to do the things you enjoy, and you have time to do very hard work, very good work, as and when it's required, and you're successful at everything you take on. But if you start to see what others are doing, oh, that Anamika, she sure travels a lot. How do I make that fit into my life? Oh, but I hate traveling. It's not going to work. So find what you love and make it fit in your life and eliminate anything that is not important to you. That is work-life integration. And let's maybe stop calling it balance. It's not an act of balance. One of the things women are very good at is being organized and systematic. I have never seen a completely disorganized woman. There's varying degrees of organization, let's just say. That's what makes us efficient. It makes us able to manage multiple priorities at the same time. Women are also empathetic. It makes us good leaders because we care. Women are resilient. I've seen mums who have the flu and they're still taking care of their families, cooking dinner, maybe talking like this, but they're still managing it. It makes us special. It makes us awesome. So doing things like setting ceilings that are false, saying we can't take something on, struggling with the idea of keeping work and life separate, doesn't help us. So embrace yourselves as women and make this work-life integration happen. The fifth one, I have to be cautious around. To me, this is most important, but only if you can promise yourself that you have done the first four. Because otherwise, this is just a useless thing. The fifth one is find yourself a champion. A champion is someone who trusts you enough, trusts your abilities enough to take you under their wing and almost guard you as you take big risks. That's sort of a very simplistic way of putting it. They'll give you the big projects. They will showcase you. They will bring you up with them. That's who I mean when I say champion. Find yourselves a champion. But the caution here is if you're not working hard, if you're not excellent at what you're doing, if you've not figured out your lives, if you don't know what you love, then there's absolutely no point in trying to find yourself a champion because you'll just confuse the poor woman or man who's trying to champion you. But once you've figured out the first four things, finding a champion is important because if you look at the history of every highly successful man or woman in this world, they had somebody that believed in them. They had somebody who would let them take big risks, who would let them make huge mistakes, multi-million-dollar mistakes, and allowed them to learn from it only because the champion trusted the person. I'm not talking about a mentor. Mentors are important, but mentors are not champions. And I'm not talking about your supervisor, who may or may not be your champion. So find yourself a champion. That's 5. I have found these 5 things to be fundamental to everything I have done for my career over the last many years. I didn't know these things when I first started out. I wasn't pre-wired to just know the stuff that makes you successful. I've had to train myself. And through every failure that I've had, it's these 5 things that ground me, that bring me back to focus, and they help me move forward. So I've given you my top 5 things. And like I said, there are so many different pieces of advice, nuggets of wisdom out there that you may have heard that may or may not work, that may not apply to everybody. So what I'm going to do right now is just open the floor up for questions, let you ask some questions, and I'll see if I can answer them. Just remember how I started. I'm not in those most powerful women of the world list, so I may not have all the answers, but I'm working towards them. The floor is yours.